All right. Okay. I pray that we were able to retain most of our folks. Um, just had some technical difficulties. So please, I pray that you guys log back in with us as we are still going through um, these this conversation. Whew. Okay. All right. So, as we are looking at being good stewards, I'm sorry that we were a little bit choppy before. So I'll go backwards to move forward as we are looking at um, as we're looking at the text for tonight. Um, out of Psalm 24:1. The King James Version says, "The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world, and they that dwell therein." And so it says, and what we're talking about tonight is it all belongs to God. As we are reshaping and realigning our thought process and our perspective on what stewardship is, we have to start with the foundation of it all. Of it all belongs to God. All the trees, all the animals, the oceans, the land, the all the vegetation, the people, the earth itself, the universe, it all belongs to God. And when we are looking at how we steward, when we're looking at how we are trying to um, be who God called us to be and manage well, because that's what stewardship is. That we are managing the things that He has put before us. We are managing the resources and other items that God has placed in our hands. And so, if we're going to steward well, the first thing we have to remember is it all belongs to God. If we could go a little bit further, not only does the land and the sea and all these other things belong to God, but watch this. The Bible tells us in Haggai chapter 2, verse number 8, that all the silver and all the gold belong to God. If we went to another scripture, it would tell us that the cattle on 1,000 hills belongs to God. So the things that we look at, the things that we have in our hands, the things that we try to make sure that we are doing well with God, we have to make sure that if we're going to steward well, we have to remember that it all belongs to Him. And so even in reflecting on this, the question becomes, what's the difference between ownership and stewardship? I can possess something, I can have something, it can be mine, it can have my name on it, and that is ownership. But how I manage it, how I make it work in the way that it needs to work to be impactful and be a blessing to people, that's stewardship. That is how I manage the blessings that God has placed in my hands, how I manage my money, how I manage my time, how I manage my talent, how I manage all of these things that God has placed in my heart and hand to maintain. And hear me here. We have to remember, know, and understand that stewardship, when we hear this word, as we're reframing, as we're looking at how we think about this, we need to remember stewardship is so much more than money. Throw that in the chat if you would, so I know that you're here. Stewardship is so much more than money. It's not just money that when God is calling us to be good stewards, it is our time, our talent, and our treasure. It is the fullness of us that God is calling us to be good managers and good stewards of the things that He has placed in our hearts and in our hands to maintain and to manage. And so, one thing that we need to make sure we do is reframe our thinking, so that when we hear people say stewardship, that we don't automatically clutch our purse or lock our wallets down with the assumption that they are going to ask us to give something. But can we be honest? Worship is not worship if we didn't bring something to give. Help me, God. Um, we have to realize, know, and understand that worship isn't worship unless we've brought something to give, something to sacrifice, and that's not. And when I say something to give, that's not just your pocketbook. That is also um, that is also your talent, your talent, your treasure, your time, your resources. All of these things together is what God is calling us to be good stewards over. And so when we're looking at this, so we need to make sure we can define the difference between ownership and stewardship, and then we need to be able to ask ourselves the question, which area of our lives do we most naturally treat as mine rather than God's? So we remember the earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. So all of it belongs to God. But what portions and pieces of our lives do we stake claim to, where we plant our flag and say, God, I know you gave it, but it's mine. God, I know you blessed me to do it, but it's mine. God, I understand that you tried, that you did this, but it's mine. So, what areas of our lives do we naturally stake claim to and say, it's mine, not God's? And the danger here with having that mentality of it's mine and not God's, the danger of that mentality is, watch this, if I look at it as mine, I might manage it improperly. But if I see it as God's, I might may and might just steward it a little bit better than what I would have had I just looked at it as mine. Okay. Then, as we're moving forward, we want to ask. I want to ask us the question, and this is including me. So how would our spending habits change if we looked at every dollar as belonging to God? How would our spending habits change if we looked at every dollar as belonging to God? Some of us will be millionaires. My God. It'd be a whole lot less Amazon boxes on our doorstep, but we would be millionaires. I believe it. How would our spending habits change or differ if we recognized or looked at every dollar as belonging to God? And then, how would your time management change if you viewed every minute of every day as belonging to God? How would our time management change if we looked at all these things and said, you know what, God, this is all yours. This is all yours. So I need to manage my time. I need to manage my talent. I need to manage my treasure properly. So because it all belongs to you. And then finally, this is a good question that we wrote down from earlier. What blessings have you taken for granted recently? What blessings have you taken for granted recently? And so as we're moving forward, as we're moving toward a more deeper conversation, when we talk about stewardship, as we're reframing our understanding and perspective of what stewardship is, so it's not just money, but when I steward well, I'm going to make sure uh, that I'm managing and doing and taking care of my salvation, my family, my job, my health, my wealth, my spiritual gifts. I'm going to take care of my church. I'm going to manage my influence, my spheres of influence well. I'm going to manage my education. I'm going to manage my opportunities well. And so when we are stewarding well, it is me managing properly the things that God has placed in my hands. That is that. Um, yes, yes, it's a blessing to wake up and to breathe. Yes, ma'am. It's a blessing to wake up and to breathe. You are right. And so when I'm stewarding well, think about this. If I'm stewarding well, that means that